Welcome to this episode of Themes and Variations. Today I have here with me Azadeh Mehryar, who creates magic with clay. So did I pronounce your name right?
Uh, yes, actually you did.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Azadeh Mehryar, and I'm so happy to be here.
Could you talk a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, I was born in a loving family who adored art. My father was an architect and archaeologist, and he was an art enthusiast. His research involved Persian architecture. So, for that matter, my sisters and I were exposed to images of so many phenomenal works of art, along with my dad's incredible descriptions of them. So, looking at all of these precious treasures and listening to their extraordinary stories while growing up, I fancied studying art when I was a teenager. But life took me to another direction where I studied computer sciences and programming after I finished high school. So I worked in the web development sector for many years before I moved to Canada. And after that, I I just thought to myself, okay, this is a time where I can change the direction of my life and start studying art because I carried this passion of studying art all the way from when I was a child.
Mhm.
Um, so, you know, at in 2018, I got back to school to study fine arts,
Mhm.
and it was where I got hands-on experience with a number of art mediums, and it the art mediums included ceramic for sure. And
Mhm.
the first time that I touched a clay was where I realized, okay, this is the medium I'm going to work with for the rest of this artistic journey.
Right.
And yeah, and here I am.
Here we are. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
story.
Thank you.
So is ceramics your primary artistic medium right now?
Yes, ceramic is my premier artistic medium. But before I started to study art and enter to the art world in an academic way, I was kind of engaged with other artistic fields as well, like painting, drawing, collage, um, mosaic work, jewelry making, photography,
Mhm.
and yeah. But when I started studying art. Clay was the medium
Right,
that I found a connection with.
right. So do you think that's kind of a common theme among visual artists that they usually do they do work in multiple visual artistic mediums, but they have a primary medium. Is that a common theme among visual artists?
Well, that's what I would think. I can say about myself.
Right,
I was kind of because I really wanted to make art and create. But in the beginning, you may not know what kind of creation you want to make and what kind of medium you want to work with. So I kind of tried different creations and different mediums until I found the one that I
right,
made more stronger connection with,
right.
which was
Yeah,
clay.
yeah, yeah. So what inspires you to create? How do you know this is going to be my next work? How do you go about that process?
Yeah, so I think with most of the art making, um, all the process starts with an idea, a lot of research, a lot of studying, a lot of reading, a lot of seeing, watching,
Hmm.
images all around,
Hmm.
nature, and all
Hmm.
sort of stuff. And then that's when the inspiration comes to mind. And I think sketching and drawing that idea is an important step. where all those ideas can be developed with different iterations of the same idea or of the same form. And then this iteration happened until, okay, this is what I'm going to make that will representative of this particular idea that I have in mind. Yeah, and I start making. And yeah, so the interesting part about it is that even though there is a lot of planning ahead for creating an artistic object, when you start making, um, a lot of times you come up with newer ideas, and then you want to reflect all those ideas into the work that you're making.
Right.
So a lot of the times the final project is completely different than one you had planned before. Right. And that's the beauty of it, I guess.
There's a little bit of an evolution to the work itself from, right?
Totally. That's true. Totally.
So what is your point of entry into a particular work? Do you sketch out the initial idea using, I don't know, pencil or something like that, and then you kind of use that as a reference and then go about it? How do you do it?
Yeah, so I'm kind of an old school, although I have studied software engineering. I was a web developer for like many years, but I still prefer to use pencil and a
Right.
paper
Right.
to draw my inspirations in. I know there are a lot of people who are using different applications and they draw their, initial drawings digitally, but I still prefer to draw them with a pencil and pen. I have a sketchbook beside me all the time, and I try to kind of visualize what I have in mind at a moment, because if time passes and you have an idea, there's a chance that you just lose that idea and it
Right.
just goes out of the mind. But yeah, it's really helpful. And then when I go back, even when I see the sketches that I did at school, they are still very much inspirational, and I can still, use them
Right.
as a
Right.
base, as a baseline.
Right.
My newer projects.
And I bet you have a few different full sketchbooks that has a lot of ideas by now, hey?
I do. Yeah, I do. Well, sometimes I cheat and I try to not to draw and sketch in the beginning, and I just go ahead and start building. But I found sketching is very much more helpful in developing the idea.
Right.
Yeah, it's easier to erase the pencil, or it's easier to use Control and Z buttons on a
Right.
keyboard
Right.
than to create a work, and then you realize that you don't want it, and it's so hard to erase it.
Right.
And go back and build again.
So at the idea stage, what kind of things do you have to keep in mind? Like obviously the form of the object that you're creating, and what about the medium? Are there different kinds of materials that you use, or is it just all one kind of clay?
Yeah, so because I've chosen to make my works particularly with clay, so it's always clay. But depending on a lot of different factors, I have to choose the clay, because there is a variety, and there are different temperatures of the clays that you can use. So depending on what I have access, and also what kilns I have access to, I can decide what kind of clay I can use. And then again, I have to see what kind of those clays would represent the idea better than the other ones, in terms of the texture or the color, or the combination of the clay and the glaze on top of it. So these are the things that I have to keep in mind before I start.
Right. And the word that you mentioned, kiln, how do you pronounce it?
Kiln?
Kiln. So that's the place where you put the final thing to fire it so that it
Yes, correct. That's the oven for the clay.
that's the oven for the clay. Okay. So before that, it's kind of a mushy, wet texture, and once it goes through that process, it becomes the final object, and then you choose to glaze it or not, or is glazing a part of you have to glaze all the
Totally, totally.
yeah.
You could be a ceramic artist. You already know the theoretic part.
Well, just to show off, that's about it.
That's amazing.
So I know that some of your works are inspired by Persian art. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and if there are any specific periods in the Persian art that you're interested in, or how the Persian history of Persian art is influencing your work right now?
Yeah, so that's a very good question because um, how old is the Persian art is how old the Persian civilization is. It goes back to more than 3,000 years ago. And so the Persian art. So there is all sort of different timelines in history of about more than 3,000 years that has different significance. And it's so hard to say which part is my favorite because I kind of like all the milestone tones in different timeline in the Persian history. Um, so as I said, it takes a lot of research to see what there was, and I'm so lucky that I feel like um, choosing to reflect this Persian art into my work has led me to do a lot of research about the art that I inherited.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I would say I have works that have been influenced by um, the works of 2,500 years ago, and then I have works where are influenced by newer arts
Right.
like in 12th or 13th century, which I can actually show you some of them if
Right. Yeah, that would be great.
yeah. So I hope you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, this
Okay.
looks amazing.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, this is a work that I did and is kind of a an attempt to make a replica of a 2,500-year-old written
Mhm.
or write-on.
What does that mean?
So it was a kind of drinking vessel
I see.
at that time, or they used to use it for measuring the drinks at royal ceremonies. So this part, this container part, obviously is where the drink would go in. So yeah, there is so the actual object is actually in the Iranian Museum in Tehran, and it's made of gold.
Mhm.
I really try to uh, keep all the dimensions and all the details the best as I could to
Right.
create this work.
Right.
Yeah, so this part, which is the container part, is actually wheel thrown, and then the other parts are um, made using different techniques. I have some close-up um images of
Right.
this is the wing, and also this is the head.
So
So
the parts that are not wheel thrown, by that I'm understanding that it is processed in the potter's wheel. That's how you create that shape of that object. And and the part that are not wheel thrown, you're using your hand to kind of bring out all those detailed textures. Is that how
yes,
you do it?
exactly. Yes, yes, totally, totally true. So for the wings, I used slab building, which is a technique where you just turn the clay into a slab or a flat surface of clay, and then you can do whatever you want to do with it. You can form it the way you want it. And then for the other part is and I just made all of these, small little textures individually on this one. Um,
Eh, okay. So what the two processes that you talked about, other than throwing it on the wheel, could
yes.
you talk a little bit more about that? Just what is involved in the process of it?
Yeah, so it's actually not really complicated. For the slab build is just, you know, just turning the clay into a flat surface.
Hmm.
And how it's done, there are different ways to do it. It's done with a rolling pin. You have a lump of clay, you use a rolling pin, you roll on the clay, and then it becomes a flat surface. You can you can determine the thickness of the slab depending on what you're making.
Right.
And then I just for the wings I cut it to this shape, and then I started to make all these textures um, using the tools that I have.
Hmm.
And for the coil building, which I believe coil building and also pinching,
Hmm.
those are the very primitive ways of ceramic making. It's just for the pinch, it's very obvious and very clear. You have a lump of clay and you just try to shape it using your fingers. So the basic and the main tool to alter the clay is your fingers.
Hmm.
And for the coil building is that you have a base and then you create coils of clay. You build the coils on top of each other and then you merge them together to just make a volume or an object.
I see. Okay. That, thank you for explaining that. Do you have other images of your works that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were talking about the timelines actually. This is one of the works that is, as I said, it's inspired by work that goes back to 2,500 years ago. And then um, um, this one is actually inspired by works of Persian art back in 12th or 13th century. It was when this turquoise, shiny, translucent glaze was developed. And most of the work that I found from that period of time, they are white clay, and then they have black paintings on them. And then on the top, there is this layer um, of this shiny, transparent blue glaze. This work is also a combination of methods. That the bottom part is wheel thrown.
Right.
The top part is, well, this star shape, which is a pattern that is inspired by the old monuments
Right.
of Iran. It's
Right.
made by different small little slabs of clay, which I would like to call them tiles.
Hmm.
And then the rest of the piece is made by the coil building method that I was talking about.
Hmm.
And then I have another piece here. Um, yeah, so this piece was kind of inspired by different references of Persian art and culture,
Right.
if you may. So the whole shape of the piece was inspired by pomegranate, which in Persian culture symbolizes fertility and life.
Hmm.
Um, then the process of making it is by using these slabs of clay, as I would like to mention the tiles. As you use the tiles, mm, tiles are usually used in architecture to cover a surface, cover the floor or the walls
Right.
of a building. But I like to kind of challenge it and use them to build an object, to build a volume instead
Hmm.
of just covering a surface.
Right.
So that's why I just made these small little tiles, triangular and also the diamond shaped tiles, and tried to make this object by putting them together to create this vessel. And also all these patterns that are seen on the tiles, they are inspired by the patterns that are that can be seen on the very old Persian carpets.
Right.
Yeah, so there are different references to the Persian art and
Right.
culture with this piece.
Yeah. So in this image and the next one, you're trying to keep the form and I don't know what I'm and the texture and the color and all these things the same way they used to do it back in the day, and you're trying to redo that thing as is. That's what the significance of that turquoise color is.
Yeah, so for these two pieces, I did not try to copy anything. It was just like I really wanted to well, it started with the research with the glaze, basically. What glaze, what ingredient did they use to make that glaze? And
Mhm.
that's unknown for me up to this day, because I could not find uh, the exact same ingredients that they used to use for this
Right,
kind of
right,
glaze.
right, right,
But this turquoise glaze is kind of mostly seen in those era. And as you can see, this one is a little bit darker than the other one, than this
right,
one. This is because I was trying to, I was kind of playing with the amount of the ingredients in the glaze to
right,
see if I can actually um, get to that specific
right,
color
right,
and texture.
right. And these two pieces are on display at Place des Arts in
Yes,
Coquitlam.
yes,
Um,
correct. Yes.
yeah. Do you want to talk about your show a little bit as
Yeah,
well?
absolutely. Yeah. So, um, yeah, in this show, the opening was last night, actually, on Friday, January 19. So I have 6 vessels in the show, and also I have a set of 80 tiles that are arranged in a specific way, the pattern of which is inspired by a very common pattern in Persian architecture. So the whole collection is called Diaspora, and is kind of reflective of who I am and my own life experience, as I am trying to integrate to the new culture that I moved in and I chose to live in. And so does my art.
Right,
My art is kind of trying to, I mean, it's an intersection, or it's a juxtaposition of the Persian art and contemporary culture.
right.
So it's kind of bringing them both together. Um, yeah, so this show started last night, and it will be on until March 14
Right.
at Place des Arts.
It was incredible to see them all in person, especially those tiles. That is quite beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, no worries. Okay, so are there any Persian artists that kind of follow the same kind of work that you're trying to do, integrating the old Persian culture and doing it in a modern way? Or are there actual Persian artists from way back when that actually inspires you?
Yeah, so my key inspiration has always been my beloved dad, actually. His incredible introduction of art is has been the biggest influence of how I see art and how I see the world. Um, Other artists that I could mention that I'm really inspired by are um, Hossein Amanat, who is a Persian architect, and yeah, his work is amazing. He has amazing work all around the world. And I also draw inspirations from many older, monuments, objects, patterns, designs, drawings. from the Persian culture, whose artists are unknown, unfortunately. Also from the local artists, I would like to mention Laura W. Leilak.
Hmm.
She's a Canadian artist, and she's well known for her incredible hand-built ceramic work. I'm really grateful for all the instructors and professors I had at the college and university level. The list is long, but I really appreciate all of them who inspired me and to
Right,
to to know the know and get familiar with the contemporary culture.
right. And well, so what is next for you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Do you have anything else in the making, or are you fully focused on this exhibition that is happening right now? This is the second one for you, right? Artist in residency kind of thing, or a solo exhibition?
Yeah, so I I was very lucky that I attended two artist residencies in 2023, but right after one another. I mean, I was at Chapel Center during the summer, and right after that, I went to Medalta in Medicine Hat in Alberta to do another residency, which was amazing. I mean, incredible experiences. Um, Also with this exhibition, I will have another exhibition lined up for end of February,
Hmm.
which is basically a show of the arts that myself and all of the other artists that I shared a studio with at the Shotwell Center during my residency. We are showing our work that we did there. So yeah, uh, these were my main focus up to now and until February. And yeah, we will see where and how and what life
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
will take us to.
And do you have any idea on what your next art project is going to be?
Well, I have some ideas in mind, um, a lot of them. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to bring them all into paper and do sketches of them and yeah, so I just have to prioritize and see which
Right,
ones I have to do first.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds incredibly wonderful. So
thank you.
thank you for spending your time with us and trying to walk us through your process and a little bit of Persian history, Persian art history lesson as well. And yeah, I would like to hear more from you about the shows that are coming up, and how you evolve as an artist, and the more things that you make, and keep us posted. Thank you for being here.
Sure, yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah,
It was an honor to talk with you about my work. Thank you so
our
much.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.